So I got a question for you.
Mhm.
What do you think the role of government on a local level? Let's be specific.
Okay.
What do you think the role of local government is?
Wow. So what I think is, what is the role of governance? And I've been having this conversation for a while now, just talking to different people about governance in general. And what is it? Are we just going to meet for 3 to 4 hours once a month and talk about things? Or are we going to meet for 3 hours or 4 hours once a month? And then the next day go out and say, okay, this is what we're thinking about. This is what we talked about in our meetings. How can we, what are some of your feedback? What are some of the things you're thinking about? And I think oftentimes communication is key. Because there's a lot of things happening within cities that people don't know about until it's too late or the deadline is already hit.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we get that information out and meet people where they're at? So that's one thing I learned about campaigning, especially during the pandemic. You have to do lid drop, you have to do emailing, you have to do phone calls, and still knock on doors.
Yeah.
You have to do all of those, and I know that information just has to be out there.
You know what's something that's always ruffled my feathers? Something that's always just like made me like hit my head on the desk. It's like these legislators, they come together and they come together for maybe once on the city level. It's once a week. They have a meeting once a week, and they have an agenda, right? Of course, you can't pack the entire city's problems on one agenda.
Not at all.
But you meet once a week. You may report out back to the community. You may not. That's up to the council and their staff, how active they want to be. But essentially, if you don't show up to those public hearings and you're not actively in the newspaper, and sometimes the media doesn't even cover all the nitty gritty, detailed conversations that's being taken place in the council meetings. And if you're not on their website, and some of those websites are hard to navigate,
they're really difficult.
And I think we talked about that when you're running, like that's something that you want to fix, right? A lot of those meetings are recorded, but it's so hard to navigate the website to actually locate the actual video to even watch the hearings. It's like you're just not going to have the information. So like, and then the thing that always made me so mad, it's like once your job is over, once that 4 hours exceeds and you guys are adjourned for the day, it's not like the crime in Minneapolis is solved, right? Stopped. It's not like the gunshots aren't going off anymore. It's not like mothers aren't losing their sons, fathers losing their sons and daughters. It's not like people miraculously just have food in the refrigerator and they can feed themselves. And if they want a job, they can go get a job, right? And for me, it's like we meet so many politicians. And when I say we, I mean myself and my team that I work with. We have conversations with so many politicians and legislators. And it's like, I always leave the meetings like, they're going to go golfing after this. Or they're going to go enjoy a meal with their wife or their husband after this. And we have to go back into the community and continue to strategize and organize on how we're going to help feed people, how we're going to help get people jobs, how we're going to help people keep their lights on. And they don't have that same stress. They're so disconnected from the actual problems themselves. It just frustrates me, man. You even got some legislators who are on the north side, but they live in a pocket, a protected community over north where they're not hearing the gunshots going off every night. They don't hear the sirens going up and down the streets and the ambulances coming to pick up bodies of our black and brown children in the streets. They're not there. We are.
What I would say to that is, to me, yeah. I get it though.
And I know that was some heavy stuff. My bad.
No,
I have that in my heart. I just had to.
You better pour it out. Leave it out on the ADOS podcast. Only on the ADOS podcast where you can see a lot of these things. But yeah, no, because it is passionate. And if you're doing it here, I'm doing it at home and in the community. If we're both doing it that way, there's other people doing it that way too. I would say I'm not going to really say all of them because there are a lot of them, especially in St. Paul, who I work with directly, and we talk all the time, and they sometimes wake me up at late night saying, we gotta get active, we gotta activate, we gotta do this, and what I think about is like, the more exposure that they get, the more responsibilities and obligations they receive. Same thing. The more money you make, the more money you spend. So that's the way I look at it. And it's really hard to be consistent as some of the problems, because once you get in those seats, you then get connected to state resources too, not just city resources. It becomes a state resource thing too. And then now you have different egos and different personalities. And if I go this way, if I decision make this way, my community is going to be upset, but it's in their best interest. And that's why I'm always highlighting like communication. But you're right. We need more people at public hearings. We need more people's voices. We need cities to have sustainability committees. Yeah, if you don't have a committee, discussing how your city is going to go moving forward for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 plus years, then you should probably get one.
Right, and when they have those CIP or comprehensive improvement plans, CIPs, capital improvement plans, comprehensive plans, whatever. They all mean the same thing. It's just a bunch of public admin jargon.
Yep.
But essentially, they're just they're plans for what they want the city to look like or be like for the residents 20, 30 years down the line. So St. Paul has their comprehensive plan for 2040, I believe. And then Minneapolis has their comprehensive plan for 2040. But it's like, even in that process, though, I've talking with people in the community, and they don't even know what that is. They don't even know what a comprehensive plan is. And I've had conversations with at least 20 in both parts, because I'm all over the place. I'm from St. Paul, but I do work in Minneapolis and in St. Paul. And I'm constantly having conversations with people on a day-to-day basis. And I always bring these things up. Like, are you familiar with a comprehensive plan? Do you know what that is? No, explain it to me. And I tell them what it is. Like, have you heard of that before? Like, well, now that you mention it, like, I maybe have seen that when I was on the website, but I never knew exactly what it was. And I didn't think to go into detail about it. So it's like, on one hand, it's like, and then when I ask you that question, like, what is the role of local government? Is it to overly communicate with people in the community? Is it to actually intervene when there is a discrepancy in the information that they're receiving, right? Is that their role, to show up at people's houses and say, here's what we're doing. Here's a sheet. Here's a time that we're meeting at. We want you to be there.
At least send mail.
Or at least send it in the mail, so they can at least say, yeah, we put it up on our website, but we also sent a flyer out there, right? We also sent a letter in the mail to every resident within these zip codes. So they do have the information. It's accessible to them, because most people check their mailboxes, right? They may not be online. They may not know how to navigate the different websites, but they can look at a flyer and read that. Now, if they toss it in the trash, it's on them. But I at least want to see them overly communicating. I think that's what the role of local government is. It's just to overly communicate what's happening in the city to its residents.
Yeah, to problem solve, essentially. And that's, if we're not receiving the feedback and taking what people are saying, because I know people are passionate about a lot of things. They are just super passionate. And the reality is, we can't address every single need because it's individually specific at times. But when it becomes more than an individual specific need, that's the time we step up as leaders, as legislators, to say, let's implement a policy, let's implement a plan, but get that direct feedback from them, because this is the people we're bringing it to our attention.
Yeah.
So let's include them on these discussions. Let's give them a stipend to attend meetings or something like that.
That's what I was gonna say. We need to figure out creative ways to pay people for their time. I'm not worried about the passionate people, right? If we're talking about anything that's criminal justice reform, economic development, planning commissions, if we're talking about any of those types of things, really anything that's politically related at all, I'm there. I want to be there. You don't got to pay me for that, right? That's how I continue to fill my cup, right? But I'm talking about the people who are not passionate, because everyone's not going to show up with that same level of passion.
Yeah, we need that buy-in. We need engagement.
Right.
We need engagement.
How do we get people who are turned off completely by any types of politics, not just at the national level, but local as well? Because they just don't have trust in government. I don't care if you're city council. I don't care if you're county commissioner, who I may not even know what that is. how do you want me to show up and I don't even know who you are, right? I may have checked your name because you had DFL behind it or GOP behind it, but I don't know you.
Near it.
Or incumbent near it, but I don't know you. You never came and knocked on my door to talk to me outside of you campaigning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I haven't seen you. So how am I supposed to trust you and show up to this meeting and buy into something that I don't even know about, something that I'm turned off by? How do we get that buy-in from those people? And that is a problem. A lot of candidates go knock on every single door they can during campaign mode, but you don't never see those people again once they assume office.
Yeah. And I know that Apple Valley going to be sick of me because I'm still going to keep knocking and stuff. And we have to bring City Hall to the community.
That's it right there, man.
You know,
that's it, Christian.
So I get it. Like, things are limited right now. But for example, a good, friend of mine, I consider him like a mentor. He's a city council member in Maryland. His team, he's always posting on Facebook. And I'm sure he's always posting on Instagram and all the other media platforms too. And I'm here and I'm seeing it, And it's not just because we're friends. So I'm like, I know if I'm seeing it, then people in Maryland are seeing it.
Right.
And the people who I follow, if I share, tag, or do whatever, they can see that too. But he's finding a way to bring it too. And it's not for everybody. Mm-hmm. Politics is not for people until they're impacted by it.
Wow.
Yeah. So we can let that marinate in. But the reason I say that is because I never in my life been the most political. But when I started having discussions about, okay, we have this, this amount of money and this amount of people could eat, then it's like, oh, this is a real thing. I need to be here. I need to be present here. I need to be involved. I need to communicate with that family. I need to be in these meetings and communicate with those families what I'm hearing in the meetings. So it's like, and there's some things you just can't share because they're not closed yet. So there's some stuff you can't necessarily do that, CA agreements or whatever. But the little information you do have, say, look, I don't know if this is a final, but this is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And I want you to know that these are some of the things that's being talked about on your behalf.